Good morning all, thanks for joining. Welcome to this webinar on unlocking AI in your ERP. It's an informative webinar hosted by Logiq Group in partnership with PantheonIQ. I'm Jeff Prestige, a director here at Logiq Group. I'm your host for this morning. I'm very pleased to be joined by Warren Beard and Sam Pankhurst, who are directors at Pantheon, and they'll be running through this presentation with us. PantheonIQ is a cutting-edge IT consulting firm who are working with small and medium-sized businesses to help them with AI, automation, data, analytics, and governance. Warren and Sam have been helping us here at Logiq to understand how we can harness the power of AI within Harmonic, and I'm sure you'll be as excited as I am to learn more about the possibilities of what can be achieved when you have the power of AI connected to the database engine of your ERP system. In having conversations on this topic with some of our clients recently, the different applications and uses that can be made of it are very creative and also very widespread. These include things such as building reports, retrieving on-demand data and information, cash flow scenario planning, creating call sheets for sales reps, and even logging CRM activities from voice notes. Ultimately, the limit of what's possible is bounded by the limit of your imagination. The key thing is to be clear about what you're wanting to achieve, then having a plan for how this translates into structured data and into actions. This webinar is live and there will be time for questions at the end. So if you think of questions as we go, please pop them into the Q&A panel on Teams and we'll get to them. Thank you and welcome, Warren. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, and just welcome everybody, and just thanks, Jeff, for having us. So a little bit about PantheonIQ. If we can just change to the next slide, that would be fantastic. So the agenda for today is a little bit about us. We're going to do a bit of an introduction into AI and what that is. I'm going to hand over to Sam, who's going to take us through a demo, and then we'll talk a bit about getting started and what that means for you. So a bit about us. I've been in professional services now for 20 odd years. In the beginning of the year, Sam and I came together to found PantheonIQ, and driven largely by the idea of working with small and medium-sized organizations in New Zealand. A bit about me, my background is really supply chain. However, in the last few years, I've really focused on robotic process automation, business transformation, and a few of the others. I've also worked with some of the members of the community as well as part of UBT, and yeah, I've been just really encouraged by the SME space here in New Zealand. Sam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you very much, Warren. So hi everybody. Sam Pankhurst, I'm the CTO here at PantheonIQ. My background is in manufacturing engineering, so I've been a process engineer for quite a large period of my life. Moving more into sort of the consultancy and the business consultancy side of things. So always very much on the side of process and process efficiency and process the operational excellence type piece. So yes, very much been involved in the AI and automation side of things. So working with PwC here in New Zealand for the last 5 years. So bringing that type of expertise to businesses. And as part of PantheonIQ, we're very much enjoying being able to bring that kind of level of expertise to the sort of smaller and medium-sized businesses here in New Zealand rather than those enterprise type clients.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, so if you put Pantheon on a page and you kind of wanted to understand what it is, it's really about artificial intelligence. And we'll talk a bit about artificial intelligence today and what that means for your business. And just the evolution of it, really, because there's been a lot of talk in the press around what is AI and how does it actually help. And I think there's some blurred lines between automation and AI, and I think we've got to be really clear around what that is, and I want to hopefully bring that across today. So PantheonIQ really tries to get involved with three real things. It's artificial intelligence, it's automation, and it's analytics. That's kind of the three things that we really try and focus on. Without a doubt, data is paramount, and so is governance. So those are two, I would say, I don't want to say byproducts, they're not quite byproducts, but they are absolutely part and parcel of the 5 things that we aim to do. The work that we've been doing with Jeff over the last, Jeff and the team at Logiq over the last 6 months has really been trialing some of the latest AI and automation that we can use across the Harmonic platform, and that's what we're going to try and demo to you guys today. So Sam, if I can hand over to you a bit about the introduction to AI, and then what we'll do is we'll dive into the demo.
Thanks, Warren. Yeah, so AI. Everybody's heard about it. It's been certainly big news for the last couple of years, but it certainly wasn't invented 2 years ago. So it was with the rise of ChatGPT that I think it was almost exactly 2 years ago now. Brought the whole idea of generative AI and chatbots and natural language type things really to the forefront. And over the last 2 years, we've seen lots and lots of organisations, wanting to adopt AI into their business. That has meant that these sort of things are now becoming a lot more mainstream. So tools such as ChatGPT or Copilot within Microsoft are now available to all of us to use. And they're not particularly expensive, which is great. But AI itself has been around for decades. It's not a new concept. What we've seen that generative AI is really, really good at are 3 main things. One is search. So being able to find information quickly and easily. Whether that's actually finding information, within your systems and your data, or actually looking at, patterns and objects or information as well. So that's one thing. The second part is pieces around summarizing information. So again, once it's found information, it can be gathering information from lots of different sources, bringing that information together and collating it and doing something with it. The generative AI is really, really good at. And then finally, it's creating. So generating new content, and you will have seen this if you've used Copilot, for example, within Outlook, using it to write emails or draft emails for you, or if you've been using ChatGPT to create some content or some documents and things that you're wanting to do. So combining those things together, finding information, summarizing information, and then creating it is what we've been looking at trying to do. So using some of that generative AI technology, and applying it to Harmonic. Why is this useful? Well, there's a number of things that this is providing. Not just to enterprise organisations in Australia and New Zealand, but also to small to medium-sized businesses. As you can see on the right-hand side there, we're seeing there's a reasonable level of take-up. New Zealand does tend to lag behind some other countries in terms of that level of technology maturity and take-up. But what we're seeing overseas is quite a rapid acceleration. So organisations that are using AI, and particularly in those sort of small to medium-sized areas, definitely organisations are seeing benefits in terms of, whether it's being able to speed up accessing information, so finding that information, not having to rely on the ability to have technical knowledge about how to write reports, to pull information out of systems. That kind of information is now at people's fingertips, and that has the impact of them being able to provide better information in which to make business decisions, information that you might not have had before, and that gives you the opportunity to do things like more cross-selling, more upselling. It improves employee satisfaction, so people are not having to spend quite as much time doing sort of more monotonous or admin type things, because the AI can handle that. So it can deliver those kind of results much more quickly. I think probably most importantly, it provides organisations with that level of competitive advantage. So if you're adopting AI technology and you're seeing some of the benefits that we're seeing here, your cost of service reducing, your customer satisfaction is likely to be going up. Because you're doing things more faster, you're able to make those better decisions. So do things that are more appropriate for customers. And if you're not adopting AI and your competitors are, then you'll start over the next few months to a year. If you're not already, you're starting to see some slippage there. So the importance really of at least getting an understanding of what it is and how it works is we're finding is really important. If not else to get a competitive advantage, but to stay abreast in the market. So next steps, I'm going to actually give you a little bit of a demo in terms of some of the things that we've been doing with Harmonic. So if you just bear with me, I'm just going to start up our session. So we've got a little sort of chat front end. It's plugged into the Harmonic local database. That means that we're plugging into the real-time data. So you'll see here, just starting up. So I've got a little chat front end. Now, again, this is just a front end that we put together for the purposes of this demo. And the idea is that you'll be able to use, if you've got a tool that you're using today, whether it might be Google Gemini or Microsoft Copilot, you could use that tool. We're also looking at options as part of our roadmap is to actually integrate this into the Harmonic system with one of the widgets at the top in the top menu bar. But I can put various prompts in here. So let's say we want to get a list of customers that we haven't contacted in the last 2 months. We'll type that in. And what it's going to do now is it's actually going to query the Harmonic database directly. It's then going to come back to us with results that it's put into through our AI query. So here we go. So customers haven't been contacted. So it's providing, in terms of that search, analyze or summarize and create, it's going into the database to find the information. It's summarizing the information by bringing it all together into a list, and then it's creating it and it's presenting it back to us in a nice user-friendly format. So let's say I want to know the addresses for these because I want to go and actually contact these. So we can ask it to. I've got these copied just to avoid me having to write them down, type them out every time, and you just see my spelling mistakes. So let's get the addresses for these customers that weren't contacted, and it's going to go off and do that query. And hopefully come back to us with a list of addresses. Yes, here we go. Now, one of the little features that we've added in here is whenever we're getting lists of addresses, we've programmed the system to provide directions. So I've got a link in here now that's dynamic. So whatever addresses I put in is now going to give me a route, an optimized route map, so that I can get around those various customers in a particular way. So link to Google Maps, which you can then download onto your phone or have it onto your CarPlay when you're driving around. Now, 12 hours 47 minutes. That's quite a long trek. So we might want to slim that down to the top 3 or whatever, but you can get the idea here in that we can then link this off into other systems to make it very useful. Let's have another look at something else. Let's say we want to do some information around data management. So let's say we know that our CRM system is fairly up to date, but we're doing a bit of a data update. So let's list customers with missing phone numbers. See what we've got in the database. So this is our test database. Here we go. So we've got we've got a list here. So Somerset, restaurant brands, KMD, etc., are all missing phone numbers. Again, so that allows us to go back in and we can do some work on updating those. Again, roadmap type stuff. At the moment, we're working at sort of these fairly basic level of prompts in terms of getting information out of the database. Going forward, we actually want to start putting information back in. So we can use the system here to then actually start updating things. Jeff, I think in the intro, we talked about the idea of using some of these APIs to actually take voice notes, transcribe those, and push those into the system as CRM meeting notes. That's one of the use cases that we're working on at the moment. Other things, so we want to do a little bit of analytics around our customers. So let's list customers who haven't made a purchase in the last year. So let's have a look and see perhaps some of our less active customers, so we can go and chase them up. We contact those and see if there's anything else that we can do in terms of cross-selling or upselling to them. And this is where this is where I've run out of tokens. So I'm going to have to give this I'm going to give this a minute to refresh. But while I'm doing this, I'm going to hand back to Warren, perhaps to talk a little bit around some of the things that we can do to get started while I get my my tokens refreshed.
Thanks, Sam. So there's a couple of things that we do with various customers, right? So, over the last year or so, we've been, we've worked with a number of different clients. We've also had various conversations with UBT because we do work quite closely with UBT. And we've tried to understand a bit more about what the big issues could be and how we could address them. So what we've done is we've kind of said, well, it kind of fits into a few buckets. The first bucket is really diagnostics. So, if an organization doesn't know where to start, or if they want to, maybe need an RD strategy, imagine you've got many business applications and you're not sure which ones you still need or which ones are relevant, or you're trying to really you're trying to find an optimized way of managing IT costs. There's a bit of an IT strategy offering which we do offer that we can offer US clients. The other one is artificial intelligence and automation. Now, not all of the organizations that we work with are very mature. They're on different stages of maturity. Now, if you go back in history and you try and work backwards around, where did we start with all of this? Well, we would remember business process management, which we probably were trying to do in the 80s and 90s. If you fast forward to the 2000s, we were working with things like automation, and probably the early parts of 2010 to 2015, we're doing a lot of automation. But now we're doing automation and AI. So it's possible that your business is not necessarily all your departments across your business are not in one particular stage or another, or they're in various stages. So we can try and help there. So diagnostics are meant to be quite rapid fire. They're meant to take a day. So basically, we do a bit of a workshop, and then what we do on the back end of that is we come back to you with a report and give you some of our findings. And that is to help you think through what your business is, how you want to evolve your business over the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and we can help you embrace all things to do with automation and AI and business maturity. Sometimes we work with clients who know a lot more about their businesses, and I mean that with all due respect. I'm not saying we don't know our businesses. What I'm saying is that sometimes we work with organizations that are, some departments are more mature than others, and they kind of know where the problems are. So what we can do there is we can actually offer, or we do offer, advisory services, but more on a packaged basis. So we can say, look, let's come in for a couple of days, and what we'll do is we'll do a really deep dive into your data. We'll look at the automation. Well, if you have automation at all, if you've started to dabble with a bit of AI, we definitely can look at that. The idea there is to try and really be quite thorough and give you, the best opportunity of being successful and building out that roadmap for you. Now, there's various packages that we do offer. One is around IT strategy, which is, again, it's not meant to be a diagnostic. It's meant to be, this is your way forward. We do the same thing with artificial intelligence and automation, as you can see there as well. We do roadmap development. Now, what we do often come across is we can help you put together a strategy, but organizations don't know how to implement it or want to implement it over a period of time. Now, let's assume that your budget is $5,000 a month, or if your budget is $10,000 a month. You might want to work with someone on a longer term basis. And that's kind of what we try and give you around roadmap development. Some use cases are really quite quick to implement and quite inexpensive. Some require a fair amount of, investment into making sure that they work. So that's where we try and help you work out what is best for your business. And then something that is really quite important and often missed, and I think this is where AI tends to get a bit of a bad rap, is around governance and control. Now, AI will not discriminate. If you apply AI into your business and you don't have any governance, it will see everything. It will not discriminate one set of data versus another. And there's been some really, I suppose, horrid or nerve-wracking stories in the press where you hear, somebody found their boss's information or somebody accessed payroll data. Those use cases are absolutely real. But what we can do is we actually can scan your environment across all your applications. So we can tell you, it looks like it's a web form, and what it does is it says yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So basically, imagine if you had HR data, you had Harmonic data, you had HubSpot data, you had various sets of data, and it will tell you what the AI is looking at before you switch it on. So you know what user profile to set so that people cannot see certain information. So the AI scan takes 2 to 4 weeks, not because it takes that long to do. It literally takes us half a day to set it up, but it has to run through your environments to make sure that we are very clear on what we're going to allow the AI to see or not to see. So that's where the work comes in. So that tends to take a few weeks to run. But once that's run, you've got a full report that says, well, this is what the AI can see. And then you can decide, you can set the parameters and the governance around that. Sometimes we get organizations that say to us, hey, we kind of know what we want. We just want something, we need skills. And that's when we've got a bit of a pod model where we can come in and we can work, with you in incremental buckets. So if you say, we kind of want this reporting, project managed or implemented, or we've got this AI, we just need a few tweaks, that's when you engage in a pod model. So that's when you can say to us, look, we need 4 hours a week of your time or 8 hours a week of your time. And what we do is we give you a blended set of skills. One of the challenges that you've got in all things to do with IT nowadays is that one person often doesn't cover all of the skills you need. You need somebody with not only ERP skills, you need someone with AI skills, you might need a data architect, you might need an engineer or an automation engineer. We can offer that to you as a blended set of skills. So you're not actually having one set of skills. In there, we can also look at licensing as well. So we do have relationships with Microsoft and AWS. We're partners where we can actually look at your licensing stack, and we can then help you think through what you actually need and what you don't need. And then we offer support packages. So as you introduce automation and you introduce AI, you do kind of need a little bit of support potentially. I would hate for you to get to work one morning and something is not working. So there is various options there. They're not, again, not expensive, things you can do relatively inexpensively. But it's really just having that support, someone that knows your environment that says, oh, okay, I know why this didn't trigger, or I know why the AI is not doing X, Y, Z, and you can address those. And then, again, like I said, there's always those little exceptions where, somebody comes to us and they go, look, we just need, we need an expert to come in for a period of time. We can do that as well. So what we've tried to do here is we've tried to find a way to address the SME space, because we know that SMEs really struggle and are very cost or price sensitive, right? So the relationship that we have with Logiq is for us is key, because we know they understand the SME space. So all work that we do within our business will be done through Logiq. So I just want to be very clear that we're not offering this as a separate service. We're actually working with Logiq to deliver these services to you and your business. So we're kind of an extension in this case to the Logiq group. But this is kind of how we bucket our offerings. I don't know, Sam, if that's a good segue back into you there.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Sure.
Right, I'm going to just pop back to the demo now. So let me just bring this back up. It's Murphy's Law that I managed to hit my tokens quota at the middle of the webinar. Okay, so we've I'm just going to run this. So we've done a query on customers who haven't made a purchase in the last year. It's given us a list of customers here. What I want to do now is do a little bit of stuff around products. So again, I've got something. I want to know, we've got product quote categories. I want to know what products are in a certain category. So here's one I prepared earlier, just because I can't remember all the numbers. But I'm sure out there, some of you know some of those category numbers off the tops of your heads. So again, right, here's a list of categories, oh sorry, products in that particular category. Let's I'm just wondering whether or not we're just going to try something. I want to know which customers have ordered one of these products. So let's pick this OFR 2 kilowatt. So let's do find customers who have placed orders for, and let's just copy that. Yeah, let's try that one. So we can start doing a little bit, this is where we're sort of pushing the boundaries a little bit in terms of actually starting to do some analytics around looking at start segmenting some of the data that we have. No, that's not liking that one either. Okay.
I think it's because you got a full stop there, Sam.
Yeah, it's possibly. Anyway, I think we've sort of demonstrated enough of the various features and things like that. The token thing that I was trying to reset obviously hasn't worked properly. So, but in terms of the roadmap and the things that we're working towards, you know, being able to query the database, understand, you know, for example, do some of that. And these are things that you could perhaps have done through reports previously in Harmonic, but now you know you've got those sort of queries, those prompts you've got at the touch of a button without having to go and write a report, or without needing the knowledge to know how to write a particular report. So you can roll these sorts, this kind of dashboard out to people within your organization to be able to understand sales orders, look at, you know, for example, outstanding orders, or, you know, customers that have got a certain amount of debt, which is one of the things I was planning to show you as well. And so, you know, have outstanding balances and things like that. So finance type queries, stock type queries, customer order type queries, those sorts of things. So hopefully that's sort of giving you a bit of an overview as to the things that we're already doing within the Harmonic space, albeit, you know, that it's sort of fairly embryonic at the moment, and we're working with some of those large language models that are out there. I think probably appropriate now to sort of move on to Q&A, Jeff. So if I get rid of this.
Sure. Thanks, Sam. Thanks for the demo. I mean, as you say, it's still very early stages. It'd be great to be able to see some really cool stuff coming through, but we're still very much developing it, and we're keen to get some people on board as early adopters that can help us to come up with some use cases where we can really test its limits. So great. Moving on to Q&A. One question that comes up a lot when we're talking about AI and our data is the idea of risk. Can you talk to us at all about who's got access to our data? If we connect it to AI to our ERP system, does that mean all our data suddenly available on the internet, or how do we manage the risk side of it?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. It's probably something that's been in the news a bit as well recently. If you look at the free versions of things like ChatGPT, when you're using those, and if you've been using those sorts of systems, the information that you're putting into them, it's going out to the internet, it's gathering information from the internet, but it's also using the information that you're putting in to train the model. That's some of the quid pro quo around using the free version. The systems that we're using are private versions. So the information that we're using within the prompts, yes, it goes out to a large language model that's hosted outside the organization, but all we're sending to that is a bit of information and asking it to reformat that into a different format. So that is private. It's not being used to train the models. The other thing that I think is really important is the data itself isn't leaving the organization. So we are working with the Harmonic databases. So this is linked to your local SQL tables within the Harmonic. So we're not having to upload the corporate data into the cloud in order to therefore be able to work on it. The same goes for think tools like Copilot, Gemini. If you're using a paid version of Copilot, that data that you're using is protected within your organization. So it's only looking at information that's within your Teams, your SharePoint, your type sites. Whereas if you're using free versions of things, some of those tools, then yes, potentially, unless you've got, there are certain ways of knowing in terms of green ticks and things like that, to know that your data is not being used to train the model.
Cool. No, thanks for that. That's very helpful. We've got a few questions coming in from participants as well. Llewellyn asks, can you ask for comparisons of data, say customers who spent less in November versus October?
Yeah, and these are some of the things that we're looking at. So we've not got that right now, but it's on our roadmap to then start doing some analytics. We're looking at trend analysis is a particularly interesting one. So yeah, perhaps either whether it's looking at products that have sold or are selling less month on month, so that we can start seeing some of that trend analysis, or where we've got seasonal trends for particular products, being able to identify that. Things that you'll probably know anecdotally, but being able to see them in the data is really useful. So you can help forecasting demand over the coming year.
That's good. And Sarah asks, can you tell it to add additional information into the results that it outputs, such as saying you want to view stock levels for those products?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of things here in terms of being able to take data from different sources. One of the things that we're able to do, so as I talked about, Microsoft Copilot just looks at data within your Microsoft system. It won't be looking at in Harmonic. We're working to create connectors to be able to connect your Microsoft data in with your Harmonic data. So that will allow you to, when you ask a query, you can look at information that you've got perhaps within communications in Teams or your Outlook emails with people versus the information that's in your system. So combining that type of information together. What was Sarah's specific query? It was around stock, I think.
Yeah, I think the question was more around, can you ask subsequent questions? So you asked a question on there, can you list the products that are in this category? Could you then ask a subsequent question using that same data saying, can you please tell me the stock levels for those products?
Yes. So what we did on that first one was around listing customer addresses. Generally speaking, generative AI does remember your conversation. So you can, if you start a new chat, it's starting from fresh. But when you're within a conversation, it's remembered the things that you've asked previously, and it takes that into account when you're asking. So yeah, so it's something that we're working on at the moment in order to making sure that we've got that conversation history is being played back into the prompts. So yeah, so rather than saying give me a list of addresses for these customers, it's give me a list of addresses following a subsequent. So yeah, as we said, yeah, give me a list of customers who I haven't contacted in 2 months, and then the second prompt would be give me a list of addresses for these customers. Be able to do that.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And one further question was, can you apply user access rules to the data that is available through AI? So you've got one user who can ask a certain type of question and another user who can't.
Yeah, absolutely. And this comes back to some of the stuff that Warren was talking around, is some of that cloud scan piece. The AI agent can only see data that it has access to. So identifying what data you've got on your system is important, and that's where the cloud scan comes in, so that you may have data sitting in your system that's actually accessible to everybody. And therefore, whilst people don't know it's there, they wouldn't necessarily have been able to find it because they don't know where to look, whereas AI actually looks at everything and therefore can pull that information. So the cloud scan allows us to make sure that we are locking down information and that we've got the right sort of information, have the right sort of just general access controls. But yes, it does respect access controls. So if you're a particular user and you have access to stock but not finance, you can ask queries and it won't give you the results for finance, but it will give you the results for stock.
It may come back to how it's integrated with Harmonic also, that when the user's logged in, the access rules then apply to the AI tab or the information available.
Yeah.
One further question was, can you produce an output into a spreadsheet or create an Excel file? So you're asking it for data and then tell it to produce it into a file?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, some of the different models handle this in slightly different ways. The way that we've structured the solution here is that we can unplug and plug different. So, if we're finding, for example, that Google Gemini's AI engine works really, really well, but doesn't work very well with creating files, we can unplug that and we can plug on, the OpenAI, the ChatGPT version as well if we want. We've been playing around with some of these things. Creating CSV files is actually quite easy. So you can ask the when you're typing the prompt, say, give me a list of customers who I haven't contacted in the last 2 months in a CSV format. And it will come back in a CSV format that you can then download and import into Excel or just paste into Excel.
Great, no, that's excellent. This is a question for me, for the less IT savvy people in the audience, but could you tell us a bit more about what happened on your demo when you ran out of tokens? Like, just explain what the tokens part to it is and how that all works.
Yeah. Because some of these are sort of fairly new services from some of the providers, they are setting limits as to how often you can query the database. So they're effectively throttling the service a little bit just to make sure that there's enough bandwidth available for everybody. I've been doing quite a lot of testing with the demos over the last couple of days, and I've sort of reached some of the limits. And whilst I tried to use a different account, I hit the limit on that one as well. So these are sorts of things that as we move forward, what we're finding with a lot of the providers is those limits are increasing all of the time. So not only in how big a prompt you can ask, how big your question is and the amount of information that's involved in that's increasing, but also then the frequency that we can be asking for prompts, asking for information, and then the total number of questions or prompts that we can do in a day, that's increasing too. So quite often we find maybe as we move up to a faster model, which we've done in the last couple of weeks, those better models, those faster models, they're throttling some of the requests that you can do down on those, because obviously otherwise everybody be using them and they want to share the bandwidth out. That's something we're seeing at the moment, but as they start getting more stable, that is accelerating quite quickly.
Jeff, the other thing to note there is, so if you take OpenAI, this week they actually launched their open access model, which was launched this week, and that's I think it's $200 a month. So that gives you open access to all your information, and there's no limit on the number of tokens. So just to give you an idea of the different types and the versions that are at play here.
Yeah, but most of them have a free portion, so you don't pay for the first X 100 or X 1,000 or whatever, however they're measuring it per day or per month. And so if you're going over the threshold, then charges come in. But again, those charges tend to be sort of a fraction of a cent or something per request. We've not noticed particularly high billing issues as we've been testing, and we've been putting quite a lot through it. So going forward, I don't think that's going to be a barrier for people. But yeah, being able to then go for one of the paid tiers, whether that's I think one of the Gemini ones is 37 New Zealand dollars a month. So again, not massive. And then again, that's giving us more bandwidth and more availability on things.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And this question, I'm sure, will be on most people's minds, and that is, can you tell us about writing data back into the database through AI? So the example we've got is, could we ask AI to add $10 freight to a particular sales order? But it applies to writing any type of data back into the system. Yeah,
absolutely. Again, on the roadmap, it's a key one for us. So being able to use the prompt window to actually push data back in to the database, that's perfectly feasible, and it's something that we're keen to do. We'll start fairly simple and basic on those, But this is kind of really where we're looking for some early adopters within the within the sort of the Harmonic user base to work with us, so we can actually start doing some of the things that are most important for you guys and going to add the most value. So yeah.
Yeah, no,
so if you're
that's
interested,
great. Yeah, I mean, obviously it adds a whole another layer of complexity to it, doesn't it? Because you have the whole verification piece and how do we validate the data that's going back in, making sure it's actually accurate and so on.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I think we're starting to run out of time. We do have one more question. Oh, this is more just a comment saying that being able to create a purchase order would be quite handy through AI.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we said at the start, there's a million different use cases that the sky's the limit, really.
Absolutely. AI is not necessarily the answer to everything either. That's, I'll get scolded for that. But we do stuff with various other clients where we are looking to simplify data input, just using some things like APIs and forms and things like that as well. So that creating purchase orders, again, there are different mechanisms and different methods for doing that. But integrating data between systems so that information will flow from one system to another. If you're using a different CRM, for example, and you want to link that up with the Harmonic data, then there's things that we can do in there which may or may not include AI. So yeah, we're not limited from this perspective.
Good. No, that's excellent. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Warren. We very much appreciate your time, and I hope that the audience found this interesting and helped to get the creative juices flowing. So as we mentioned, it's still early stages, but we are interested in hearing from anyone that's keen to be an early adopter and help us to build out this service offering. So if you are interested, please reach out either directly to your account manager at Logiq Group or through our contact@logiqgroup.nz email account. We'd love to hear from you. And thanks again for joining. Thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.